After breaking up with his white moonlight, a term for an idealized or unattainable love, the professor from Peking University married me out of spite. In the 3 years of our marriage, he was attentive in every way. He remembered all our anniversaries and meticulously prepared surprises. He would also cook for me and pick me up from work in the evening glow. But all of those 3 years couldn't withstand her single sentence, "Leonard, I'm back." I had never seen such an emotional expression on Leonard's face. In that instant, I understood, if it's not a unique and exclusive love, I don't want it. When I got home from work, the house was unusually dark. I clearly remembered Leonard's schedule. He didn't have classes tonight. Turning on the light, there was no message on the small blackboard by the door. Everything in the house was the same as when I left in the morning. The messages on my phone were still from yesterday, when Leonard reminded me to wear an extra layer because it was cold. Had something happened? Leonard and I had an agreement to always inform each other if something came up. I called him 3 times in a row, but no one answered. This had never happened before. I felt an inexplicable panic and worried that something might have happened to Leonard. I called his colleague, who said that Leonard had left after his afternoon class. After hanging up, I didn't know what to do for a moment. Accidentally opening Facebook, I saw that Leonard's friend James had posted something with the caption "Long-awaited reunion." In the photo, there were 3 people. Leonard was very close to another girl, holding a wine glass, and the smile in his eyes showed that he was in a good mood. Leonard's colleague sent a concerned message asking if something had happened. I suppressed the strange feeling in my heart and lied, "It's nothing," Leonard called back. Then, in the comment section of that Facebook post, I typed word by word, "Please ask Leonard to return my message." When I refreshed again, James's post was gone. Leonard called me back soon. "Ivy, my phone was on silent, sorry, I didn't want to hear him finish, so I interrupted him. Do we need to divorce, Leonard?" There was silence on the other end, and I hung up. I knew the girl in the photo, her name was Mia. She was said to be Leonard's white moonlight, and they had a good relationship for 4 years in college. Originally, they had planned to get married after graduation, but the girl insisted on studying abroad for her career. Because of this, they broke up, and Leonard agreed to an arranged marriage and married me out of spite. Leonard told me about Mia himself. He clearly explained his past with his ex to me. He was very honest, which was one of the reasons I decided to marry him. But after seeing the photo, I realized that Leonard's previous indifferent demeanor might have been just a facade. When we first got married, there were rumors. Everyone knew that the person Leonard had been with for 4 years and wanted to marry was Mia. They gossiped privately that even though he married Ivy, if Mia came back, Ivy would have to step aside. But even though it was an arranged marriage, Leonard gave me enough dignity. There was a grand wedding with many guests, and in front of everyone, he said, "Ivy is Leonard's only wife." Our married life was plain but happy. He would prepare lunch boxes for me in advance because I said the takeout near the studio wasn't good. He would also adjust his schedule to bring me a coat when the weather suddenly turned cold, just to keep me warm. After marriage, I was constantly observing my husband to see if he was worthy of having a child with me. For 3 whole years, he did very well. I thought he had forgotten his white moonlight and started to look forward to having a child. But looking at Leonard's smiling eyes in the photo, it was somewhat dazzling. Leonard came back quickly. In the October weather, he was sweating from running. "Ivy, listen to me." Leonard said that he forgot to turn off the silent mode on his phone after class, and when James invited him to the gathering, he didn't mention that Mia would be there. Leonard held my hands. "I was wrong in this matter, but let's not talk about divorce so easily, okay? We've been married for 3 years, Ivy, trust me." Leonard was right. After 3 years of marriage, I couldn't condemn him just because of one photo. Life returned to how it was before, as if Mia had never appeared. Leonard would order the flowers I like and have them delivered to our home in advance. He would also hold me on the sofa after dinner and talk about interesting things from his classes. I had seen him fully devoted to me, so I could easily notice when he occasionally spaced out. When he replied to messages, he would subconsciously tilt his phone screen to make sure I couldn't see it. Even though I was in his arms, I felt there was a barrier around him that I couldn't penetrate. Suddenly, he put away his phone. "There's no fruit at home, I'll go buy some." Leonard left quickly, so fast that I didn't have time to tell him there was plenty of fruit in the fridge. I suddenly felt a bit mischievous and thought I could time him. Looking at the time, it was 10:32 p.m. How long would Leonard be gone? Half an hour? 2 hours? Or would he not return all night? If he didn't come back, what excuse would he use? To my surprise, Leonard came back faster than I expected. He bought a bag of loose apples that he usually said didn't taste good. It was from a small fruit shop whose apples were crisp and popular among students, but Leonard didn't like them. He said he would rather not eat fruit than buy those apples. He acted flawlessly, as if he had really just gone out to buy fruit. I didn't miss the moment when he opened the fridge and saw it full of fruit, his back stiffening for a second. Then I watched him try to cover it up by putting the apples he bought at the back. After doing all this, Leonard calmly told me he was going back to the study to prepare for class. That night, Leonard didn't return to the master bedroom. I lay on the big bed, my thoughts wandering: if we divorce, how to divide the property, what to say to both sets of parents. In the morning, there was no lunchbox prepared in advance on the table as usual. He left a message on the small blackboard by the door: "Urgent matter at school, leaving first." I stared at those words, lost in thought. We lived in the teacher dormitory provided by the school, and it was less than a 15-minute walk to the building where Leonard taught. It was not yet 7 o'clock, and the morning class started at 8. Without classes, meetings, or activities, what urgent matter could there be? I didn't think deeply about it, but then I thought, what if it was true? At the studio, the girl who came to work part-time every week looked at me hesitantly. "What's wrong?" I asked her. "Did something happen?" The girl's name was Luna, a student I had asked Leonard to help me find for part-time work, and she was also Leonard's student. She usually helped with trivial tasks and organizing files. Perhaps she had done something wrong and was worried about being scolded. I adjusted my expression, planning to comfort her. "It's okay to make mistakes, just fix them or make up for them in time." Suddenly, I thought of Leonard. If he made a mistake in our marriage, could it be fixed? "Sister Ivy, haven't you seen the school forum?" Luna asked cautiously. I came back to my senses and replied, "No, I haven't. I came to the studio early in the morning and don't usually check it. Only when I'm really bored do I look at the bizarre gossip and sharp-tongued comments from the new generation. After reading, I marvel at the diversity of life. There are things you can't even imagine that others can do." Luna hesitated. "Do you want to take a look?" "I mean, hiss. Don't be too angry when you see it." Her behavior gave me a bad feeling. What on the forum could be related to me? It could only be about Leonard. Luna still opened her phone and handed it to me, not forgetting to remind me, "Sister, anger is bad for your health." On the forum's homepage was a photo of Leonard and Mia hugging under a banyan tree. Even though I was mentally prepared, the moment I saw it, I couldn't help but feel suffocated. It was as if my entire chest was covered with a plastic bag, making it hard and painful to breathe. That banyan tree was in a secluded spot where few people usually went. Leonard knew this, which is why he was so brazenly intimate with Mia there. But he didn't expect to be photographed and posted on the forum. Luna looked at my face anxiously. "Sister Ivy, are you okay?" I nodded and continued to look. The poster was anonymous, and the caption was provocative, with an eye-catching title: "Witnessed Professor Leonard's cheating scene." The post had a lot of discussion, with hundreds of comments below. Some questioned the authenticity. "Guys, wake up, just a hug doesn't mean cheating. Come on, who are these feudal remnants spreading the idea that a hug equals cheating? Disperse, I hugged my mentor last year when I won a competition." Some couldn't tolerate it. "Just thinking about the wife at home while he's downstairs hugging another woman makes me sick. Hugs between teachers and students are formal, who hugs so closely?" I agree with the above, hugging so tightly, who would believe there's nothing going on? Just so you know, not catching them in bed doesn't mean it's not cheating. There were also those who were just watching the drama. To be honest, the atmosphere in the photo is great. Does the poster do follow-up shots? Secretary Zhang, I want all the information on this woman in 3 minutes. Brothers and sisters, if there's a follow-up, please tag me. I like it intense. The comment section was in an uproar. Leonard didn't send me any messages. An unexpected person came to the studio to find me. James greeted me. Sorry about last time, I was drunk and posted it without thinking. I rarely saw James. He was Leonard's friend and Mia's cousin. I remember the first time we met, he didn't give me a good face. He didn't insult me directly, but at gatherings with many people, he would occasionally make sarcastic remarks. Everyone knew who he was targeting with his sarcasm, but since he didn't say it outright, I couldn't make a fuss, and others could only laugh it off. The atmosphere was as uncomfortable as swallowing a fly. Later, Leonard couldn't stand it and took him out for a private talk. I don't know what they talked about, but when they came back, they were like good buddies. After that, James treated me like air, and Leonard didn't make him apologize to me. The matter was left unresolved. We didn't have much interaction since then, so I couldn't guess why he came to see me. You came just to apologize to me? James nodded. To show my apology, let me treat you to a meal. I thought of the message Leonard sent me earlier, saying he had a dinner with colleagues tonight and that I should eat by myself without waiting for him. Just this one sentence, it seemed he didn't know about the forum yet. I had doubts in my heart. James took me to a highly rated internet-famous restaurant. After ordering, James and I sat facing each other with nothing to talk about. I picked up my phone. Mr. James, you don't mind if I inform my family, do you? James nodded indifferently. I made a video call, and James's expression changed. You're making a video call? I nodded, and James immediately stood up and reached across the table to take my phone. Before he could, Leonard hung up the video call. James breathed a sigh of relief and, meeting my gaze, awkwardly explained, I just wanted to say hi to Leonard, my action was a bit too much. He gulped down some water and asked dryly, did I scare you? I ignored James as 2 messages popped up on my phone. Leonard, it's not convenient to video call at the colleagues' gathering, Ivy. Is there something wrong? Leonard's colleague, the gathering is scheduled for the end of the month. Did Leonard remember the time wrong? A sudden sense of powerlessness rose in my heart. I asked James, is Leonard dating your sister? James firmly denied, no such thing. But seeing him pretend to be busy arranging the dishes, the answer was obvious. Sent you to watch me, afraid I'll find out? I raised my glass and clinked it against James's. Thanks for the effort, going to such lengths to help your sister date a married man, you're a good brother. I downed the grape juice in my glass and left James behind. James hurriedly chased after me, it's not what you think. They were just catching up, afraid you might misunderstand. I found it ridiculous. If they're afraid I'll misunderstand, they shouldn't be catching up alone. I emphasized the word alone. James said while chasing, yes, you two are married, but they had 4 years of relationship. It's just catching up, you don't need to make a big deal out of it, do you? Catching up can be done openly, instead, they met secretly and even arranged for you to keep me occupied. Is it really just catching up? I sneered, maybe only you believe that. This was indeed unreasonable. James felt ashamed, he shouldn't have agreed when his cousin asked him to do this. If it had been kept secret, everything would have been fine. Now that it wasn't, he could only try to make amends. I assure you it's not what you think, and I admit I didn't handle it well. They are innocent, can't you stop thinking so dirty? I apologize to you, can you pretend you don't know anything? I rolled my eyes hard, do you know what you look like now? Like a brothel madam insisting that there's only a clean transaction between the prostitute and the client. It's utterly disgusting. Disgusted by the combined actions of Leonard and the other two, I went straight to my cousin's divorce law firm without stopping. Brother, draft a divorce agreement for me. My cousin looked confused, why suddenly want a divorce? I ignored him and called my cousin-in-law, sister-in-law. I'm here to ask my brother to draft a divorce agreement. He'll be back later. My cousin-in-law's family runs a private hospital, and she knows about my situation. What about the one in your belly? Have you thought it through? I replied, yes, I have. All right, tell your brother to hurry up so he can make it home for dinner. Okay. Since his wife had spoken, my cousin had no choice but to comply, even if he didn't understand. I glared at him, and he didn't dare to ask. Taking the agreement home, Leonard had already prepared a table of dishes. He greeted me to eat as if nothing had happened. From across the living room, I looked at him, wondering how he could act so nonchalantly. Did he think that if he didn't mention it, it meant I didn't know or didn't care? I handed the divorce agreement to Leonard. Let's divorce. Leonard was at a loss. Ivy, didn't you promise me not to mention divorce casually anymore? I'm not mentioning it casually. Since Leonard didn't take it, I placed the divorce agreement on the table. Do you want to explain? Explain why you couldn't wait to see your ex as soon as she returned to the country, why you went out in the middle of the night to hug your ex, and why today you used the excuse of a colleagues gathering to actually go on a date with your ex and even arranged for your brother to watch me. Leonard took a deep breath. How did you know? Ivy, trust me, I hid it from you because I was afraid you'd misunderstand. He looked very serious and sincere. There's really no possibility between her and me. I know I'm married, and I haven't done anything out of line. Just because I met her, you're talking about divorce. Actually, you don't need to be so petty. And you don't even have the basic trust in me. This is an insult to our marriage. I didn't expect that after all this, instead of getting an explanation, I was accused of being petty. I re-examined my husband of 3 years. Today, he really refreshed my perspective. If there's really nothing between you two, why are you afraid I'll misunderstand? When you say out of line, do you mean sleeping together? So, anything else you do with her doesn't count as out of line? Leonard, why do you think I'll tolerate you wavering between our marriage and another woman? Leonard naturally couldn't answer, and his face showed embarrassment. He looked as if he couldn't reason with me and stood up angrily. Think whatever you want. I won't admit to things I haven't done. The door slammed loudly as Leonard left. I suddenly remembered a saying online, without catching them in bed, men won't admit to cheating. They want to keep the red flag at home while having colorful flags outside. Leonard can have such daydreams, but I won't give him that chance. Originally, I didn't plan to pay attention to the provocative message from an unknown number, but for the sake of a smooth divorce, going once wouldn't hurt. Mia arranged to meet at a coffee shop near the university where she and Leonard studied. This was the first time I saw Mia. She indeed had the capital to be unforgettable. Just sitting there, she attracted the attention of many young men. You're here, sit down. Mia's tone was familiar, like that of an old friend. Sorry for inviting you out so suddenly. She ordered a coffee for me and looked me up and down. I just wanted to see what kind of woman Leonard married. She smiled, but her tone was cold. You look quite ordinary. I had no intention of playing along with her competitive game, but for the sake of divorce, I had to act. I nodded and pretended to be puzzled. Really? Then why did Leonard prefer to marry an ordinary woman instead of you? Was it really because you went abroad to study? Leonard isn't someone who can't afford a plane ticket. I've always been doubtful about this. Would two people truly in love break up decisively just because of 4 years of long distance? Mia lifted her coffee to hide her expression. You don't understand our affairs. She quickly adjusted her emotions and continued, you probably don't know, but this place was our favorite dating spot. Our 4-year relationship was so good that all our mutual friends know about it. I suppose you've heard too. I heard that when you got married, there were rumors that Leonard's true love was me. I hope that didn't affect your mood as a bride-to-be. Mia held her coffee elegantly, exuding an indescribable sense of superiority. I suspected that Mia's brain had been dulled by her time abroad and didn't want to listen any longer. I took out the marriage certificate I had posted on Facebook before, enlarged it, and showed it to her. What you're talking about is all in the past, but what I have now is current and legal. Of course, you can continue to associate with Leonard and be a mistress? Mia gritted her teeth. The one who isn't loved is the mistress. Saying such things must be a mistress who is good at self-comfort. Do you know? From the first day you came back, I asked Leonard if he wanted a divorce. He disagreed. He desperately tried to keep me. Why do you think that is? After saying this, ignoring Mia's increasingly ashen face, I left with a mocking laugh, leaving Mia behind. Behind me was the sound of breaking ceramics and the waiter's exclamation. It was only when I received a message from Luna that I learned the form issue had escalated. Even the school authorities noticed, and Leonard was called to the office in the afternoon. His classes were cancelled. Luna eagerly asked me if I needed her to make a PPT for me. I knew about the famous PPT incident, of course, and refused Luna with a laugh. I wanted a divorce, but I didn't intend to ruin Leonard's career. Leonard was forced to take a leave. The school arranged for him to be suspended without pay until the incident subsided. I understood the school's approach. In this information age, a slight misstep could make the school infamous due to such scandalous news, which is not what the school wants. Leonard came to the studio with a lunchbox to find me. Ivy, can you come forward to clarify for me? That's not clarification, that's lying in public. The consequences you two caused, and you still have the face to ask the victim to help you lie? Leonard was choked by my words, frowning. You're still holding a grudge over what happened before. Stop being willful, Ivy, this matter is very important to me. I nodded. I can help you clarify, as long as you sign the divorce agreement. Leonard seemed to suddenly lose his strength. At a time like this, you're still thinking about divorce? The disappointment in his eyes was so genuine. Whether you believe it or not, Ivy, I love you. Divorce is impossible. After saying this, Leonard left, leaving the lunchbox on the table. I opened it and saw that the taste of this ginger chicken was exactly the same as that from the shop behind the school. It was thoughtful of Leonard to bring it over specially. Actually, this shop could deliver to the studio for a little extra money. Leonard posted several group photos of himself with James and Mia on the forum. He admitted that the girl in the photo was Mia, and that the hug was just an impulsive act upon seeing a college friend after 4 years. Even if some people were skeptical, more people's attention had already shifted, and the heat gradually died down. The school still arranged for Leonard to take a leave without pay, hoping he would handle his personal situation. If such a thing happens again, the lightest punishment would be deprivation of award qualifications, and the heaviest would be expulsion. Leonard didn't seem to take it seriously. Perhaps the forum incident gave him confidence. For several days in a row, he openly went out to play with Mia and her brother. It seemed that as long as James was present, all his actions with Mia could only be defined as friendship. He and Mia went to the seaside, smiling at each other at sunrise. He took Mia to climb Tianfeng Mountain, holding hands as they walked up and not forgetting to turn back and wipe Mia's sweat with his sleeve. They also went camping by the stream, barbecuing by the tent, with Mia holding a skewer to feed Leonard. These videos came from James's Facebook. James was a competent tool, having to stay by Leonard and Mia's side as a bright third wheel, and dutifully sending me the posts on time for me to see. I saved them one by one. These would be my bargaining chips for divorce when necessary. After a few more days, Leonard went back to work at the school. I timed it to when he was in class and sent him all the saved videos. Luna chatted with me. Teacher Leonard didn't know what he saw, but his face looked terrible. I smiled. Since that day, Leonard had been avoiding me, and I couldn't find him, so I made him come to me. I didn't have to wait long. After class, Leonard came straight to the studio to find me. As soon as he entered, he bombarded me with questions. How do you have those videos? How can you have such sinister thoughts? Have you gone to any lengths for the divorce? I looked at Leonard's angry appearance in front of me, not understanding what he was angry about. Was he angry that I threatened him with divorce? Or was he worried that these videos would affect his career? I opened the videos on my phone for him to see. They were screen recordings I had made in advance of James's Facebook. I even thoughtfully clicked on each video James posted in the recording. Leonard dejectedly put down the phone. He had never seen James post these videos, but now he understood what was going on. He seemed to want to regain some ground. Then why did you say those things to Mia? Do you know how heartbroken she was crying because of your words? Seeing Leonard's angry look, I knew Mia must have made a fuss with him. I sneered, what does her heartbreak have to do with me? Which of my words wasn't the truth? Leonard, you can't just ignore the facts and talk about feelings just because Mia sheds a tear, can you? He opened his mouth but couldn't utter a single rebuttal. Leonard lowered his head, his voice low. Do you have to get a divorce? Of course. I looked at him. You keep saying no with your mouth, but in your heart, don't you know clearly whether there is or not? Leonard was silent for a long time, and I saw a tear fall, fleeting. In the end, he still signed the agreement. As he turned to leave, he said, Ivy, I love you. It disgusted me. If this scene were put online, there would definitely be enthusiastic netizens coming to sarcastically say, he just accidentally fell in love with two women at the same time, what's wrong with that? Thanks to Leonard's cooperation, I successfully obtained the divorce certificate a month later. During this period, I found a new house and selected a new address for the studio. The old address had no advantages other than being close to Leonard's school. In the first week after moving to the city center, we got several big orders, and Luna praised me for choosing a good location that brought wealth. Leonard, on the other hand, often sent me messages, all with intimate tones of concern, some even flirtatious. I didn't reply to any of them and instead forwarded them to my cousin to laugh at. My cousin sneered, this man is just eating what's in the bowl while looking at what's in the pot, whether it's an ex or a former wife. I remembered that I still had many things at Leonard's place and needed to move them out quickly. Otherwise, once the weather warmed up, the pregnant belly hidden under the down jacket would be impossible to conceal. Fortunately, I was thin, and the 6-month belly was barely noticeable under the loose down jacket. I contacted the college student moving team introduced by Luna and, timing it to when Leonard got off work, I brought a group of young men to wait at his doorstep. Leonard was a bit surprised and delighted to see me, ignoring Mia in high heels beside him, and strode over. Ivy, are you here to see me? No, my things are still here, I'm here to move them out. Mia hurriedly stepped forward, hugged Leonard's arm, and leaned her whole body against him, radiating happiness and sweetness. Sorry, Miss Ivy, Leonard was afraid I would find it unpleasant, so he has already packed your things and put them in the utility room. I nodded, it's okay. I led the young men inside and gave them the list I had prepared in advance, insisting on a thorough inventory. Mia saw me with the list and a hint of discomfort flashed across her face. Miss Ivy, those were all packed by Leonard for you. Do you distrust him that much? Leonard frowned upon hearing this, Ivy. I waved my hand, it's not about trust. Checking everything in person saves trouble later. I called the team leader, there are still quilts on top of that cabinet, remember to take them. The 2 beds in the master and guest bedrooms should be packed separately. The quilts at home were all my dowry, specially made by the best craftsmen my family found. The thought that these 2 quilts might have been used by Mia and Leonard together made me not want them. But not wanting them didn't mean I would let them have them cheaply. Donating them to a stray animal rescue center would be more valuable than leaving them here. The weather hadn't warmed up yet, and without quilts tonight, Leonard would have to brave the cold wind to go out and buy some. The thought was amusing. Mia sneered with a contemptuous tone, you can't even part with the quilts. I voiced my confusion, does Miss Mia need to sleep under the current ex-wife's dowry quilts to feel at ease? Realizing she had been sleeping under Ivy's dowry quilts, Mia felt a bit awkward. Mia stubbornly said, who cares? The young men quickly finished the inventory and handed over the list, sister, the items marked in red are missing. I took a look, most of them were jewelry, the 3 golds from the wedding, some I bought over the years, and a few given by Leonard. In total, jewelry worth about 300,000 was now missing nearly half. How could there be missing items? Leonard's tone was unfriendly. He had packed the things himself, and earlier he questioned my distrust. Now that items were missing, it was a slap in his face. I handed him the list, I can do without the few items you bought, but I must take the rest. In front of so many people, Leonard couldn't save face, and his expression darkened. He stepped forward to check again, and indeed, the jewelry was missing. Mia's face looked bad, and she guiltily stepped back a few steps. The sound of her high heels was somewhat noticeable at this moment, and Leonard looked up to see her evasive eyes. His voice suppressed anger. "Did you take them?" How could Mia admit it? I didn't. Leonard went to the master bedroom to rummage through the wardrobe and soon came out with a brand new and exquisite jewelry box. I raised my eyebrows. It seemed Mia really liked my jewelry. Leonard's salary couldn't support my hobby of buying gold jewelry. I earned much more from my own business. With money and a love for buying, I naturally chose the best and most expensive. Mia panicked. "Leonard, I didn't know those were her jewelry, really. I thought you gave them to me." She clung to Leonard's arm, explaining incessantly. Who would believe such words? Leonard had packed everything, and she dug them out and hid them, claiming they were gifts from Leonard? Leonard handed me the jewelry box with a stern face. I picked out the few pieces he had bought and returned them to him. He didn't take them, so I placed them on the table nearby. I said to make sure everything was clear. Keeping these thin and non-valuable pieces would make it hard to clarify. I looked at Mia. "Miss Mia, you like other people's husbands and other people's jewelry. You have such a fondness for second-hand goods. I sincerely suggest you open a garbage recycling station." The younger brother behind me quickly said, "Husbands are snatched, but a garbage station wouldn't recycle such things." The leader of the group lightly tapped his head and apologized to Leonard and Mia. Sorry, this kid just can't help but tell the truth." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. He spoke well, I loved hearing it, and I wanted to hear more. After the inventory was done, I left with the younger brothers and gave them a few hundred extra to go eat. Leonard wanted to chase after me, but Mia grabbed him, and there were faint sounds of arguing behind. In the following months, I focused on my pregnancy. I couldn't resist Luna's real-time updates on Leonard and Mia's gossip from school. I heard that since the last incident, Leonard had become much colder towards Mia. Mia originally wanted to marry Leonard and finally managed to get him to divorce me, but he still didn't want to marry her. In a fit of anger, she threatened to expose Leonard's infidelity online. Leonard was tormented by Mia's pressure, and James was also pressuring him. Leonard was at a critical point in his career and had already been warned by the school once. Fearing that the matter would escalate and cost him his job, he had no choice but to go through the marriage process with Mia. "So, have they gotten the marriage certificate now?" Luna replied, "No, the scumbag said it's not good to get married right after divorcing you, so he's delaying it." Since Luna learned about my divorce from Leonard, she stopped calling him Teacher Leonard and referred to him as scumbag all the time. Luna was so angry that she huffed, "Sister Ivy, did you know? She only just found out that the studio moved and came to ask me for the new address." I quickly instructed Luna, "You must not tell him. If the address is revealed, I'm afraid not only Leonard but also Mia will come looking." Luna quickly assured me, "Sister Ivy, don't worry, I told him you went on a trip and the studio's business is suspended." She laughed loudly on the phone, but seeing his reaction, he thought you went on a trip because of emotional hurt, and he even asked me to tell you that if you need anything, you can contact him for help anytime. Luna made an exaggerated gagging sound. What was he doing earlier? I didn't expect to meet James at my cousin's law firm. He was surprised to see me. "Why are you here?" His gaze fell on my belly. "You're pregnant? Is it Leonard's?" I slapped him directly. "Not everyone is as shameless as your sister." "You." James's raised hand was caught by my cousin. "My sister is emotionally volatile during pregnancy. I hope James won't take offense at her impulsive action." "After all, you spoke rudely first." James was stunned. "She's your sister?" "Lawyer Tom, this is all a misunderstanding. I can apologize, but this case is important. Please handle it impartially, or it might damage your reputation in the industry." My cousin smiled politely and distantly. No need for James to teach me how to do things. After James left, my cousin turned and made a phone call. "The Cheen family's case, haha, money isn't the issue. I'm mainly interested in this case." Okay, I'll take it. My cousin told me that the Qin family's food industry chain had secretly added inferior products in the food produced by the contract factory to cut costs. After being exposed by online media, the Qin family, under public pressure, shifted the blame to the contract factory. Fortunately, the contract factory had kept complete supply records and production workshop surveillance, so my cousin won the case easily. Under the pressure of public opinion, business wars from competitors, and boycotts from major contract factories, the Qin family eventually declared bankruptcy. Mia completely lost her biggest support, and Leonard delayed marrying her even more. In a fit of anger, she actually exposed Leonard's infidelity online. As the impact spread, the school decisively fired Leonard publicly. Mia's identity as a member of the Qin family was also exposed. For a while, food safety, infidelity, and being a mistress were layered together, and their three names were on the hot search for several days. The last time I saw something similar was in the photo of their gathering when Mia first returned to the country. Comparing the two, it was a miserable sight. The Qin family embarrassingly faded from public view, and I heard they were borrowing money everywhere to go abroad to avoid the limelight. Leonard also wanted to go abroad, but all his money was taken by Mia, so he could only return to his rural hometown dejectedly. I moved, changed the studio's address, and cancelled my phone number in advance. Leonard couldn't find me and could only send self-indulgent messages to Luna every day, asking her to convey them to me. It was nothing but words of regret and pleas for reconciliation. Luna was annoyed and asked me if I wanted to reply. I held my tender little chubby girl in my arms and leaned down to kiss her. Who cares about him?